The coronavirus crippling India's healthcare system, and this more than a year into the pandemic. My first guest tonight is Manu Bhagavan, professor of history, human rights, and public policy at the City University of New York. He specializes in modern day India. Professor, it's good to have you on the day. I pointed out at the beginning of this program that many doctors say human hubris and arrogance led India to this point. How do you explain what is happening in India now?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. Well, I think hubris is a great description for what's happened. Essentially, the government looked at they sort of managed to get through the first wave okay, and then there was this epidemiological mystery from October 2020 when cases kind of magically dropped. It remains inexplicable today. And they essentially declared victory too soon in January. They dropped a mask mandate, which had led to some success, and basically opened everything back up, authorized mass gatherings, religious festivals, and significantly electioneering for an election campaign underway. And all of that combined essentially created multiple super spreader events and the catastrophe that we're seeing now.
Yeah, as you say, it is election season in India. There have been these massive political rallies recently with no social distancing. Today, the Madras High Court said that members of the country's election commission should face murder charges because of the super spreader events and the deaths resulting from these events. Do you expect anything like this to happen?
No, I mean, I think it's a significant statement. I mean, I would be extremely surprised for actual charges of that nature to follow. But I think the point is that public officials are responsible for the mess that we're in right now. And there may be a price that they will have to pay, but it would be one most likely to be felt at the polls.
Yeah, I mean, what about this notion of responsibility and accountability in this pandemic? I mean, do you see the government, the prime minister, his political party taking responsibility for this human tragedy?
Well, the prime minister is someone who has built a reputation on projecting strength, and much like many strongman peers around the world, has often been reluctant to take responsibility for errors or mistakes. But on the other hand, the right thing to do here, and I think the only way to proceed, is to assume responsibility for what's gone wrong so far, to work together with the opposition, and to create an all-parties war front to attack this thing which is attacking us.
I want to stay with Prime Minister Modi for just a moment. He is known around the world for his populistic, nationalistic view of India, but also of the world. I mean, his party at the moment appears virtually unchallenged. His power, one could argue, is almost unchecked. And yet this disaster has happened on his watch. Is there any way he'll be able to spin this and not have to pay for it?
I think that they're trying. I mean, on the one hand, the original drop in numbers remains unexplained, and so I think they might use that to an extent, because the government was not the sole party who had sort of felt like relief from the virus and that there was some success. So, I mean, I think those are the angles that they will take. But the fact of the matter is that they were not prepared. They should have prepared for a second wave, and there was evidence to indicate that a second wave was coming. The evidence was from everywhere else around the world. I mean, Modi remains quite popular, but right now the anger against the government and for the situation that everyone finds themselves in is palpable. Whether that translates to anything affecting elections is yet to be seen.
China hosted a health conference today with other Asian countries and said that India was welcome to attend. Now, this was an unexpected, friendly gesture coming from Beijing. Suddenly, we have that happening. We have India being reliant on foreign medical aid. Are we comprehending the entirety of this tragedy for India? Could India emerge a weaker nation geopolitically?
I'd say that's probably unlikely. At the end of the day, much of the world relies on India for pharmaceuticals and will ultimately rely on them for the vaccines. And so I think that there have been mistakes that have been made unquestionably, and there's tremendous suffering as a result of that domestically. And it's going to be a painful several weeks, an enormously painful several weeks to get through all of this. But on the other side of that, I think Indian manufacturing production on these essential treatments will increase. And ultimately, India will play a very big role in helping the world to overcome the coronavirus, and will probably right itself geostrategically as it does that.
Professor Manu Bhagavan from the City University of New York. Professor, we appreciate your time and your valuable insights tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.